Alright guys, so for today's video, we're going to hopefully get this old, well, it's a Lindell litter getter. It's basically a yard vacuum, but the motor on it kind of runs. It kicks over, so I know there's spark. You guys can kind of hear it kicking, hopefully. The most I've ever got it to do is hiccup a couple times consecutively, and that's pretty much it. So I've actually already been into this thing off camera, and I cleaned out the carburetor, and I've pretty much decided that it just needs a new diaphragm. So I have one of these, as well as a new spring. Let's get started. First thing we'll have to do is remove the air filter box, just that single screw, and that'll come right off. So one thing worth mentioning, there's no air filter in this. That is one thing I'm obviously going to replace, but I need to get this thing working first before I start dumping all those kind of parts in. You remove this the same way you do on the newer ones. You have a 1/2-inch bolt right here, and then on the other side you have a 7/16. But you take those two bolts out, you undo your governor spring, and then you can take everything off. Alright, so this is actually a 7/16 bolt. And we'll remove the 1/2-inch bolt. And there's also a large washer bushing. So you just remove it nice and carefully. Then you'll see this governor arm comes off just like that. And let's meet you guys at the workbench. Alright, so there's a total of 4 screws that are going to have to come out of the carburetor. So we'll just remove these. We'll pull this off just to get it out of the way. You have to pull that rubber piece off to get to this one. So carefully pull the carburetor off. We're going to need these. Here is the old diaphragm. Now there is a trick to this. You have to remove this little access cover here in order to get at the top of this little rod. So that is a 1/4 inch. That's all you have to do to remove that. So in order to change one of these, simply pull back on that little rod, take everything off. Alright, so the carburetor's been cleaned out again. And in order to reinstall this, it's simply rinse and repeat. And you do have to reinstall your spring and retaining washer. And those simply just go back here. And now you can reinstall that little cover. You don't want to forget this spring. Simply stick that one back on. This is a little bit trickier than the normal Briggs carburetors. This is an older design, as I said earlier. Now you just want to make sure everything lines up and you don't lose either of those two springs, or they don't get cockeyed. Simply put all your screws back in, throw your PCV back on, your PCV elbow, and you're ready to go back onto the machine. So as I mentioned earlier, it's just remove and replace as far as all this is concerned. Take your air filter screw and go ahead and screw that in. This will help this run somewhat correctly, if it'll run at all. So let's pull the cord and see what she does. Brought it outside specifically because it's probably going to kick up a lot of dust. So sure everything's working there okay. Set it to half. Runs well enough, or at least seems to. I'm going to adjust the carburetor a little bit. Not too bad. Now there is, unfortunately, not a silver lining to this thing. Reason being is because I'm having a hell of a time locating a bag for this. This company does not appear to be around anymore. Now if I could find a bag for this, I'd keep it as it is and use it out here for, you know, it's nice to have a big vacuum like this to pick up large debris that's out here in the cement. But if I can't find a bag for it, there's not really much use in keeping this motor on top of it. So any of you guys who know perhaps where I could find a bag for this, or maybe this company was bought out by somebody else and is making the same machine under a different brand name, and maybe I can retrofit that bag onto this one, definitely let me know, because I would like to get this thing working, you know, 100% as a little vacuum. But, you know, I don't know what the logistics of that are going to be, so we'll kind of have to wait and see. Maybe I can source something on my own, but I've not been able to really find anything for this machine, unfortunately. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This thing definitely works good, and it moves a hell of a lot of air. So stay tuned for more. You all stay classy.